Here's the Slate article. Who's afraid of Hassan Piker? He's hot. He's dangerous. Young men actually listen to him. Is he what Democrats are looking for? It's January 19th, the last day of Joe Biden's presidency, and in the eve of a new one, no one can quite fathom yet. I think this photo was good, by the way. And Hassan Piker is preparing for the end of the world, as he almost always is. Piker's live on Twitch. He's at his home in West Hollywood, and a secondary bedroom is turned into a broadcasting booth. Behind him is a clutter of socialist potpourri. Cuban and Gazan flags draped over a minifig packed with Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar, a cardboard cutout of Bernie Sanders blocking sunlight from a window, and a plastic purple skull capped with a furry Soviet Ushanka. Wait, he's outing me from the jump as someone who is not simply a liberal. That's weird. It seems like there's a mention of socialist potpourri behind me. For nearly a decade now, Piker, who streams under the name Hasanabi, has been one of the most famous political commentators in America. If you're a certain type of mainstream liberal, or a not very online moderate or conservative for that matter, you may not have heard of him. His precise class of celebrity is difficult to describe, but in some respects he has inherited the role of the agenda-setting television pundit for a generation that ditched the traditional medium long ago. Piker streams every day, weekends and holidays included. Outside of a few bathroom breaks, he's typically on camera by himself for 8 hours uninterrupted. Tens of thousands, sometimes many more, follow along. Other channels on Twitch, the Amazon-owned live streaming platform, tend to focus on Fortnite stunts and other video game feeds. Piker doesn't play too many online video games live. Instead, for the most part, his broadcast consists of him clicking around the huge number of tabs compressed at the top of his Chrome browser. Piker ping-pongs between them, offering mordant insights on irritating New York Times columns, Elon Musk tweets, and Jesse Waters' meltdowns. It's been a winning formula, and Piker seems to conquer a new benchmark every year. In 2020, back when he was still getting his feet wet on the platform, his stream peaked at 230,000 concurrent live viewers while he covered Biden's slim victory over Donald Trump, making him the sixth most watched source of election coverage across YouTube and Twitch. 4 years later, Piker broke that record when 313,000 people watched him analyze the defeat of Kamala Harris. Of the 10 most watched pundits streaming on Election Day, he outpaced Tucker Carlson, notably Trump operative Charlie Kirk, who worked with the campaign to turn out millennial and Gen Z men. Many young male liberals, supposedly an endangered species, have determined that the more tempered and polite avenues of left-leaning media, the nightly slate at MSNBC, the edgeless punchlines of late night, leaving them cold. Instead, they found a common movement with this 33-year-old socialist dicking around on his computer. In that sense, Piker is in possession of the one thing that the Democrats desperately want now more than ever. Shortly after the presidential election, when it became clear that the party was hemorrhaging young men to the right, the commentariat bemoaned the absence of a liberal Joe Rogan, as in an alternative media figure who commands significant clout within a loose contingency of disengaged males and happens to be aligned with the overarching left-of-center project. Who could be a bulwark against an increasingly radicalized Aiden Ross, Dave Portnoy, and Theo Vaughn? Well, here he is. Here is Piker. He stands 6'4" with a sharp jawline and ripples of coiled muscle. He's conservative in bodybuilding, gaming, anime, professional wrestling, and every other interest that tends to make up the media diet of boys of a certain age. His bulge and Calvin's thirst traps have started libidinal riots online. According to an unofficial census conducted by his community in 2024, his viewership is about 2/3 men. Slim majorities are white and hold a college degree, while 30% reported they hadn't yet lost their virginity. Oh, god damn. Yo, y'all are... Dude, he outed y'all. He outed y'all as a bunch of virgins, dude. Libidinal rage is great. Libidinal riot is even better. In the past year, he has welcomed both former Federal Trade Commission Chair Lena Khan and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to the stream. All this access has given Piker's show a sense of Beltway authority that it never quite had during the Biden era. Evidence of a fledgling support to make him more central to the Democratic messaging. The Democrats, it seems, have found their man. Just one little problem with that. Piker didn't endorse Biden at the dawn of the 2024 cycle. Then he didn't endorse Kamala Harris either. Resting on the sheath samurai sword near the rear of his streaming setup is a MAGA hat. Piker wears it on rare occasions he approves of a Trump decision. His take no prisoners approach makes everyone, but especially Democrats, uneasy. For a while, a staffer for Ocasio-Cortez suggested the Congresswoman would give me a comment for this article on Piker and the Democrats' future. I followed up repeatedly, only to be told that someone more senior would have to sign off. The comment never came. Also, speaking of which, AOC literally directly messaged me after this article came out being like, oops, we forgot to respond. But that's, yeah, this morning. It's fine. It's all good. So the thing on that is, I think they also messaged Ryan Grimm. He deleted his tweet about this. Oh, yeah. Listen, she's got a lot going on right now. Online leftism, especially since Biden secured the Democratic nomination in 2020, has earned a reputation for being dour and nihilistic, eager to cheer on the pratfalls of the Democratic Party. But since his move 4 years ago, Piker has shown a willingness to be a team player. He has hosted voter registration drives with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Ilhan Omar. And when he filled out his 2024 ballot live on air, he reluctantly pulled the lever for Adam Schiff, whom he referred to as Adam Shit. Wait, I thought I didn't vote and told my fans not to vote. What happened? I thought I actively told people to never go out and vote. That's so strange. That's weird. Felix Biederman, a friend of Piker's and one of the hosts of the notoriously ribald leftist podcast Chapo Trap House, compared his influence to something like The Daily Show's cultural apex, which, tellingly, occurred when the Democratic Party was adrift following Bush's defeat of Kerry in 2004. Is Piker a tad vulgar? Does he engage in some heterodox thinking? Sure, but as Biederman puts it, that presents comparatively little risk to a pretty good reward. Some 50,000 people pay a monthly fee of $5 to subscribe to Piker's Twitch channel, allowing them to tune into Piker's stream ad-free. Extrapolate those numbers that NBC did last September. Piker's estimated to be raking $2 million annually, a significant upgrade from the $65,000 a year he was making at his uncle's company. He has taken full advantage of that sizable bounty, which has ruffled more than a few feathers on both sides of the aisle. Conservative media loves to fetishize the material discrepancies of progressivism, so an avowed socialist buying up prime California real estate was manna from heaven. When news broke of Piker's new abode, Fox News opined about the hypocrisy of a leftist living in upper-class luxury, while Ben Shapiro took Piker to task on YouTube. $2.7 million is a lot of money. I don't see you handing that out to all the immiserated workers in the Marxist social construct, he said. You can get yourself a tiny little shack and live yourself the Henry David Thoreau lifestyle for probably $30,000 somewhere. Isn't that funny that so many people make the Ben Shapiro argument? Liberals, they think this is a good argument. Anyway, Piker is happy to meet MAGA men where they are. I give a lot of leeway to people for having somewhat bigoted views, he said without hesitation. It's a radically different strategy from liberal orthodoxy that, for years, balked at the idea of courting people who were too retrograde, too brain-rotted by conspiracy, simply too far gone to be marbled into a larger political project. It recalls an incident in early 2020 when Sanders was excoriated for accepting the endorsement of Rogan, someone who indeed has shown that he has held those bigoted views Piker speaks of. What did that liberal purity earn? Voters under 30 dramatically swung to the right in November's election. Young men, in particular, have been conquered by the Republican Party. 56% have voted for Trump in 2024, compared with just 41% in 2020. Piker argues for a different approach. A few weeks before we met, Piker spent a day filming content with a fitness influencer named Bradley Martin, who has 4.2 million followers on Instagram and who voted for Trump in November. Piker talked about housing justice and the vagaries of private healthcare on Martin's podcast. Then the two of them crushed 300-pound deadlifts at the gym. I think that's something a lot of political commentators lack in general, Piker said. They're not real human beings. What I do requires a tremendous amount of charitability from the audience. I speak in opposition on a lot of issues that people take for granted. Issues that people have been socially conditioned to believe are the norm, and that the alternative is scary and dangerous. So people have to be open to hearing me out. It might make them more open-minded to my commentary and the way I see the world. Piker has reason to believe it's working. On the r/Hassan Piker subreddit, home to 151,000 Marxist chads, there is a thread titled, "How'd you come across Hassan?" Some chime in to say they fell in love with his videos from the Young Turks or via a shout out from AOC, but scores more accredit Piker for either their radicalization or de-radicalization. An avowed centrist recalls being fearful of the stigma of socialism until he watched a video of a guy who was young, sexy, and strong, debunking a right-wing talking point on a systemic racism. They've swung left ever since. Another poster recalls going down a much darker path. They were watching Shapiro and Steven Crowder and found themselves sympathizing with white nationalist rhetoric. Over time, though, the poster began turning into some of Piker's non-political videos. They found his personality charming, and it slowly drew them into the movement. Let me explain something to you. This is why what a lot of other liberal content creators do in terms of disparaging what I have to say is somewhat damaging. And if they do truly care about de-radicalizing or pulling people away from right-wing sentiment, the endless attacks against someone like myself unironically actually hurts their own personal agenda. That's because they don't want to address any of the things that I talk about. They just hit me on my persona or personality, and they constantly say I'm a bad person over and over and over and over and over again, and constantly seek out clips that they can cut to be this is a bad person, you shouldn't follow this person, and they make up lies. Now that, of course, 100% ruins the charitability that random people might have towards me if their first introduction to who I am is completely well poisoned by some dude who unironically hates me and wants everyone that is paying attention to him to also hate me as well. It sucks because even if I'm not the one who is creating the drama, okay, even if I try to be as like drama averse as possible. For people outside of my sphere of influence or whatever, they see that as drama. They see that as a guy who's constantly finding himself in the throes of drama. And it sucks, but there's literally nothing I can do about it. So I've decided a couple of years ago that it doesn't necessarily matter. Just I will keep saying the things I've been saying over and over again. And that eventually I think people, if they tune in, even if it's for hate watching purposes, if people tune in, they'll realize that like a lot of the stuff that people are saying are just completely ridiculous, completely made up. Asked if he has ever considered running for office, testing his influence against the nation as a whole, he demurred. He doesn't think he's cut out for the scrutiny of national politics, and he feels as he is most useful to his cause in front of a PC. In fact, Piker often speaks about his dream of becoming fully regime-pilled. If the Democratic Party did bend to his ideology, he'd happily morph into a cheerleading propaganda machine. Not a liberal Joe Rogan, but a leftist Joe Rogan. When I posed the same question to Biederman, he wasn't so sure. Could he imagine President Piker? The only logical conclusion when you acknowledge the immovability of the Democratic Party is that there has to be a party that replaces it, he said. I don't really see him ever wanting to do that, but I don't know. Life will always surprise you. It's a point that echoes something Piker has said earlier about his unwillingness to compromise with the Democrats. Maybe if his plan works, he won't have to. A common refrain among leftists is that the liberal coalition in its ossified state can evolve only if it's sufficiently defeated. How does one purge its conservative elements or expunge its corporate donors? Or concoct a more progressive foreign policy through opposition, through primaries, through a categorical refusal to accommodate half measures. It is a conception that previously isolated someone like Piker to the political Arctic, disqualified from any real influence. But with the party in free fall and a growing understanding that the old rules simply don't work anymore, his dissidence has been given a rare moment to shine. Do I think that there are people that have basically grown up watching me and then got into politics and started getting lower level campaign positions? Absolutely, he said. Will they be chewed up and spit out by the machine or become the same feckless institutionalists later down the line when they actually do get some semblance of power? Possibly. That's the reason why I want to grow my community, he added, so we can force the Democrats to do the right thing. The following morning is January 20th. The day has arrived. Piker returns to his desk in a button-down stitch with a Texas Lone Star to take in the dawn of the second Trump administration. Piker's in a sour mood. He grows steadily more agitated as the new president repeals LGBTQ protections and junks America's participation in the Paris Agreement. He can hardly believe his eyes when Elon Musk makes conspicuously Nazi-looking gesture towards a crowd of MAGA partisans. He watches Hulk Hogan rip off his blazer, revealing a shirt that reads Trumpomania. Piker waxes poetic on American decline, labor solidarity, and the wave of oligarchic Christian fascism that seems to be gobbling up every Western democracy. America sucks. And as a nation that sucks, we're going to have a president that sucks, he growled, visibly more despondent than usual. Democrats sold the country off. We're an embarrassing country, and I think that even Trump supporters are somewhat aware of the demise. In the weeks that follow, once it became clear that a second Trump administration is poised to be just as destructive as advertised, Democrats are once again mired in a communications crisis. With Musk slashing the administrative state to ribbons, the specter of destabilizing tariffs, and a renewed assault on the rights of undocumented immigrants, where was the opposition? It was another stark reminder of just how overmatched the party appears to be, stricken by an enfeebling inability to summon the venom, the anger the base is feeling. Piker has never missed an opportunity to express his wrath. The day after the inauguration, he flew to Japan with plans of waking up in the middle of the night to broadcast on Twitch during his usual West Coast time slot. If you recognize that Republicans are devastating to the country, to the globe, to the lives of Americans, and the lives of your neighbors, then you have to do everything in your power to fight back, he said on a recent stream, his face softened by the milky lens of a webcam. Piker was analyzing Trump's order to transform Guantanamo Bay into a detention camp for migrants, an action he believes is the first step towards far more heinous anti-immigration measures. It's a classic Piker fixation, the sort of thing that innervates his fury for the inert center of the Democratic Party. To him, ceding any policy territory to the conservative elements of your coalition is death. It only provides cover for the Republicans to push further, to savor more cruelty, to inflict more pain. I wonder how people that read this article, contend with the takeaway where they try to present me as a radical supporter or someone who is not actively trying to do right by marginalized communities. It's got to suck real bad. I guess nobody really reads, so they don't really care. But it's got to suck really bad if your entire project is to be like, Hassan is a bad guy, please don't listen to him. I'm the actual true liberator of the marginalized populations. Please listen to me instead. I promise you, And what are my politics? Well, my politics are whatever the fuck Hassan isn't. If you read an article like this, you probably arrive at the exact opposite conclusion. So how does that work? Well, I'll tell you how that works. They don't fucking read the article, and I'm sure they'll say this was a puff piece that I paid for or something, which is insane. And once again, demonstrates an inability to understand how media works, but it doesn't really matter. Anyway,